Okay, the tape is rolling.
Stand by. Don't do anything
What are you laughing at?
I'm just thinking of weird shit I could do to you.
Oh.
Hey, music, do it.
Do it. Yeah,
Cindy might not like it, but
we got a Christmas
It'll make great
reel.
TV,
We
right?
got a Christmas reel to make up.
anytime.
All right, your new album is was produced by Steve Cropper.
Yeah.
What was that like to work with him?
Well, when I started making this record, I thought I was going to make an R&B record. But my songs didn't turn out to be that way. I mean, I write rock and roll songs, basically. So I thought I'd, you know, Steve Cropper's a white-black guy. He's Booker T and MGs, wrote Dock of the Bay, wrote, you know, a lot of old soul-type songs. So it was just a natural choice. You know, I don't like working with big-name producers either. You know, like, I don't know, like Foreigner has this producer and then 10,000 of their bands just like Foreigner have that producer. So I decided to work with somebody that's more low-key.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Let's take this from the top.
Oh, what happened?
Hey, Sunday, stand by.
You're not going to ask me about I Need a Lover, are you?
You want me?
I'm just teasing.
Of course I have to ask you about that.
Once we get finished cooking it,
Do you still need one?
Huh?
I ask if you still need one.
I never needed one.
Did you hear that? Did you hear Paul, Cindy?
What?
He hears the paper rustling. So
Oh, okay.
be careful with it. Put it to your side if you want.
Put that here. Anytime.
Anytime?
Yeah.
Anytime, okay. All right, let's start over. I'll start with another question.
Okay.
I just saw your video that you did on This Time,
Yeah.
the black and white video. I was curious, first of all, the woman in the piece is also on your album cover, right? Is she related to you in some way or something?
No, she's, you've heard of a movie called Pink Flamingos? She's the egg lady in Pink Flamingos, and she's the star of a movie called Desperate Living. John Waters, a guy in Baltimore, makes all these real trashy movies, and she's in all of them, and that's who she is. And it was the whole idea is there's a certain type of woman in the United States that really looks that way. You see them on the on front porches drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and beating the kids. So the whole idea was and it's like a joke on America. Nothing matters, and what if it did? And she's the typical I don't care woman, you know. So that's why she's on it.
Is that a sort of attitude that you have on this new album?
No, not really. It's just a way of, it's just the way that some people in the United States live, and it's not a bad attitude, you know. If you could have that attitude, if you didn't really care about anything, it'd be great, you know.
The artist that designed your cover also does a lot of work with Bruce Springsteen and Jackson Browne. How
Yeah,
did you hook up with that person?
It's kind of a long story. I don't know. I've just met Jimmy numerous times at different things and being around the same places, and just got to know him. And it was just like, you know, hey, you want to do this album cover? He says, great, you know. So that was it. So Jimmy's real good. His brother's Waddy, that is like used to be in this section in Los Angeles. Guitar player, plays for, you know, Jackson, or not Jackson, but Linda Ronstadt and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So. He's just one of the best artists, you know, for album covers there is. That's the reason I worked with him.
How do you feel about video as far as... What's the matter?
Just move up just a little bit. A little bit more. Okay, that's good.
Re-ask the question, Cindy. Move yourself to your right.
Me?
Yes, please. More. That's good.
Are we starting again?
No.
Let's try it then.
I just saw the Kinks video. They have some out that they're selling, you know, to the public. Are you thinking about doing that at all?
Well, I'm still busy trying to sell records to the public, you know. I don't know who'd buy my videos. But it's an interesting idea, video is. I'm not you know, I do video things for like in Europe and Australia, they don't have the radio access that we have in the United States. So all of the record companies use television to sell their product down there. So we make a lot of promotional films for them. And then, you know, if we can use them in the United States, great. You know. So, but no, I haven't really thought about selling anything. You know, still trying to sell records.
All right, so let's talk then about your new record and Steve Cropper, who you worked with. And how was it that you hooked up with him?
Well, Cropper is, you know, he's the only rhythm guitar player in the world. You know, every guitar player is a lead guitar player. They want to go, rah, rah, rah. But Cropper, you know, he plays rhythm guitar. And, you know, I was brought up on 60s AM radio from Seymour, Indiana, a real small town. And that's all we had. There wasn't any FM. So I grew up listening to this guy, you know, play guitar and, you know, write songs like In the Midnight Hour, Knock on Wood, 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it was like the guy has written, you know, worked with, you know, Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding, and I'm into all that. And I conceptually tried to make this record. I wanted to write R&B songs, right? But I just really found out that I don't write R&B songs. But I'd already talked to Steve, and it was cool. So he came to Bloomington, where I live, Bloomington, Indiana, and we did like 2 weeks of pre-rehearsals. And I'm just now learning how to write songs. I've made 5 albums and just now realizing what a song does, the mathematics of a song. And I still have a little problem with the rhythms, so, you know, hey, Steve's, like I said, Steve's a white-black guy and he knows about rhythm, you know. So he came in very handy in the pre-production work. He was only there about 2 weeks of the actual making of the record, but in the studio, you know, I need help, but I mean, not as much help as I do in the arrangement of like the bass drum going boing, 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 and the bass guitar going boom, boom, boom. You know, if those two things don't do it exactly right, then it's wrong, you know. If the bass drum is hit a little bit too harder on one note than it is the note before, then it's wrong. So he kind of taught us things that live musicians kind of forget about. So it was real good.
Do you think you'll work with him again?
No,
No?
Probably not. I don't like to use the same producer time after time because, you know, you end up sounding real samey. There's a lot of bands who use the same producer, and I guess the reason they do is because they have hit records, you know. But I think the burnout factor is very high on that. You know, there's like a lot of groups right now that have like, you know, they're real successful right now, but all their albums sound the same. You know, it's just like an extension. They should have just made a 3-record set and gone home and forgot about it, you know, because the last 3 albums all sound alike. So I don't think, if I ever do start with the same producer, I can't imagine it really, actually.
Now, you were originally discovered by David Bowie's manager, is that right?
Well, I don't know if discovered is the right word. I was in New York, and I hooked up with this guy. I'd just got out of college, got a degree in broadcasting.
You're kidding. Were you going to
to
be a DJ or something?
No, I was into television, you know, but I wasn't any good at it. And, you know, you got to work just as hard at that to be successful as you do anything else. And I just wasn't prepared to put in 80 hours a day, you know, to end up working in Vincennes, Indiana, and running, you know, doing that gig. So I got out of college and I went to New York, and I'd been in New York 2 days, and I had a record deal. You know, more than 2 days actually, but it was like just a matter of a few days. It wasn't like I was there a month or anything like that. It was a matter of just like a few days, a couple of weeks maybe. And I'd only written 3 songs in my entire life, been on stage maybe 10 times. So I just lucked out, you know. I dropped off a demo tape. He liked the tape. I mean, I went back home. I was, because I wasn't really interested in being in the music business. I was just interested in, I wanted to make a record. Because everybody from Seymour said, oh, nobody from Seymour makes records, you know. You should get a job working for your old man or work at the factory and forget about it, or use your college degree. So I didn't want to accept that. So all I wanted to do was make one record and go home and say, hey, I made a record in my lifetime, you know. But I went out there and he gave me, the first album cost $6,000 to make, and he was trying to get even with Bowie, you know. He was like saying, oh, everybody says that David Bowie made me, I'm going to prove to them that I made David Bowie, and I was the guinea pig, and I was 22 years old. I didn't know anything about the music business. You know, I just thought that if records were good, they were on the radio. I didn't have to go around and talk to the people, you know. It's ridiculous. Go talk to radio stations, do interviews, what for, you know? Because I just grew up thinking, well, you know, Sam Cooke's on the radio because his records sound good. And what an illusion, you know. It was like it was all over. You know, after being with him about a year, I figured out, hey, this ain't happening. So I left him.
Do you find that there's a lot of differences now in the business than when you began? I mean,
Well, see, when I began, I didn't know anything about it. You know, I knew nothing about it, so I can't really answer that question fairly. But as long as I've kind of been aware of what's been going on for the last couple years, yeah, there's a lot of differences. I got a new song on my new album called Cheap Shot, and it talks about, and it's the truth. It's a joke. It's supposed to be funny, but it is the truth. I mean, there's not any progressive radio anymore because everybody's too interested in, it says in the book, there ain't no more progressive music. They're too worried about the book. They're too worried about the ratings. You know, they can't play esoteric stuff anymore on the radio like they did in the 60s because, hey, you know, they got to get paid, and they really want to get paid. But the whole thing of it is that we have got to realize that we're not kids anymore, and we're doing the same things that we said to our mom and dads. You guys are crazy, you know. We're not like that. But now we're in the real world and working and finding out that it really does operate that way. So I think it's just another illusion going by. Radio had to wake up and realize we've got to make money, or we'll be out of business. We'll be just like Chrysler, you know. So I think it just, you know, it's a lot different than it was in the 60s and even in the 70s. People are very money conscious, you know, because it's so tight and the records are so expensive, and you know, a couple years ago they thought, oh, we're going to make so much money on disco, yada yada yada. Disco records didn't sell. They were on the radio but didn't sell. Then it was new wave, you know. It says in that song, folk rock, punk rock, power pop music trying to be the latest trends, and it's the truth, you know. If you try to capitalize too much on trends, you get burnt in the long run. The record companies really got burnt on disco music. So yeah, I think there's a big difference. People are being a lot more, let's think about this before we do it, you know.
you must have been, well, how did you feel when you heard like Pat Benatar's version of I Need a Lover?
Well, I was playing at the Bottom Line, and this guy comes up to me and he says, hey, I got Pat Benatar out here who wants to meet you. She did one of your songs. It's the first I heard of it. I said, who's Pat Benatar? I didn't know who she was, because, you know, the record hadn't come out yet, you know. And she said, well, Mike Chapman produced her, and, you know, and I knew that Chapman tried to buy the song off me 3 years ago for Susie Quattro. And I said, well, sure, yeah, I told her to come on back. And this little girl comes by, and she's like, she's talking to me, and she's real nervous, you know, and she's looking down at the ground. I really like your song, you know, she's about this big, and she was cute, you know, and I didn't really expect anything to happen with the record, to be honest. Not because, I mean, I didn't even hear the record, you know, but I mean, I just thought, well, so what? And, hey, but it had been for Pat Benatar, I wouldn't have made any money last year, you know, the bottom line. You know, she did a nice pop version of the song. So I thought it was good, you know.
Were you surprised by the success yourself?
Of her record?
Of you having a successful hit with it?
Well, people keep saying that to me, you know. I didn't know it was a success, to be
It was
honest.
successful here.
Well, I mean, it got in the top 20, you know, but I don't know. When do I get paid? You know, when does, I mean, I mean, the question that slays me most is how does it feel to have written a classic song like I Need a Lover? And I go, what classic song? You know, we had to break our neck to get it on the radio last year. It was such a classic, it should have been an automatic, you know. I don't know, it was funny. I think that the record company did their job. That's why the song was on the radio. There's a million of albums. You know, there was 35 albums came out last week, I would imagine. And every one of them had at least one I Need a Lover on it. But the record company didn't hear it, and so they didn't promote it. So we'll never hear it. But you've bought records, and I've bought records, and we go, wow, great, you know, this is a great album. But you're not going to hear it on the radio, and it's not going to sell. So consequently, the artist isn't going to make very many more records, and that'll be it. You know, there was a band in New York that knocked me out, a band called Dirty Angels. Made 2 really nice albums. You know, I bet you've never even heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah?
But I haven't heard them on the air at all. Well, you know, what do you see in your future? At least what's coming up for you next in the next couple of months?
A lot of touring, a lot of playing in clubs and stuff like that. That's basically it. You know, I really try to like live for the day. I don't really have any big, you know, projection of the next 6 years. You know, I know that I'm playing here tomorrow night, and I don't even know where I'm playing the next night. I'm playing in Syracuse or Albany or somewhere. But I'll be there, you know.
Sounds good. All right, I think that's all I wanted to ask. That's good. Thank you.
Okay, can we, or can we just get a wide shot to him talking for a little bit?
Let me see if I didn't ask you
Talk to
anything.
him real